Welcome back to the LCS Analyst Lounge. I wanted to talk once again about Rich.
This guy's getting a lot of press.
Raz is already super happy about it. You see Rich up there. You also see Aatrox, because something that you and I have actually kind of been talking about was his LPL and LCK days. So previously, I think it's really interesting that he's been known as this kind of person who's willing to play with a lot of these picks outside the box, because that evolved over his entire career. So he kind of started where everyone was like, he can only play Aatrox. If he's not going to be on Aatrox, it's going to be a problem. And, you know, I pulled some footage of him in LPL. Here's his Crebo box, or a little graphic we have that's comparing him and Revenge. And obviously, Revenge has also kind of talked about his role as a top laner in this league, both what it means and how people kind of see it. And on the other side, we have Rich, obviously playing the Cassante, which is kind of taken over as the champ that he's going to default to, but then some of these counter picks as well.
Definitely a little edgy on the champion pool for Rich. And I do actually think there might be part of it, the fact that he came over to League after playing, you know, he was HOTS Faker, a different game. I would imagine you have a different view on what the meta champions are going to be, rather than having an experience of other top laners you look up to.
When you say edgy, you mean like he has like emo hair and like
Quinn
he's like saying like
Illaoi are kind of edgelord pro picks.
Illaoi is not an edgelord pick.
How many people play Illaoi?
That's an edgelord pick.
Yone, Yasuo, Zed.
Okay,
those are edgelord.
Those are the
Aesthetically
champions
edgelord.
Right, that's what
I'm
you said.
thinking,
Like fringe.
this is not the point of the segment. Keep going, Emily.
Yeah, okay. Well, here, I mean, obviously, here's some footage of the Quinn. I just think it's really interesting because of how he's evolved over his career. And I know when he was on that V5 team in LPL, people really liked that team. And they also really liked some of his experimentation in the top lane as well. So the thing with Illaoi and Quinn that I think are super interesting, and the reason his willingness to pick it is interesting to me, is because these are counter picks that we think of, and when we talk to top laners themselves about why they don't pick them, it's like, oh, they don't go with the team comp, it's just a lane counter, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it just seems like the team has full confidence in any pick he goes for. Something I've heard about, like, usually when a player comes out and says, I want to pick this, they give out a full reason, blah, blah, blah. Like, I want to pick this because like they have full front to back, et cetera, et cetera. When I heard Rich will just say the name of the champion, they lock it straight.
Well, that's
You know why they trust him, Raz?
Why?
He's good.
Yeah, that's actually unironically true. Like when you're not playing that well and you try and convince people of this like sketch fringe counter pick, like people aren't going to be bought in.
He's also, I'm sure, still learning the language, and it's probably so they're just going to default to confidence rather than having a full conversation.
Default to trust.
Doesn't he look confident right there?
He does look happy.
He looks so confident.
All right, we'll see how confident Raafaa and Azael are in Rich and Dignitas as they take on EG.
Muchas gracias, Emily, and it's a little castle swapperoo. Raafaa and Azael back at it again. It's been 2 weeks since we've casted. I'm counting every single day, man. But I'm glad to reunite with you on the stage and not in the games where I'm inting you.
Yeah, well, hopefully you're not going to end me here, too. So it's going to be a good one to kick it off. Dignitas versus EG. EG has been kind of on fire so far this split. They're coming off of a little bit of a smackdown from Cloud9.
That was brutal.
So wanting to, you know, maintain their place up towards the top of the table, wanting to take down Dignitas, who has been surging. And is having, especially given the expectations, a really good split. 5-4 start in the first round robin for this team. A lot of people were thinking they were going to be down towards the bottom of the table, so Dignitas has really been disproving people.
Dignitas, especially with Rich in the top lane. I know the lounge was hyping them up. I mean, this guy has been on fire ever since he came to the split. We heard rumors in the scrims that he was monstering everyone in the 1v1s. They were like, oh, well, scrim bucks, you can't really put that much stock into it. But he's shown up on stage, and that's what really counts.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's great to be doing well in scrims. That can be a confidence builder. Pick Nico. Oh, the cannon flank. We got some C9 fans, some M&S fans there. But at the end of the day, you got to show up on stage. That's where it really does count. And I think Rich, that is why he is really kind of building a big fan base for himself here. A lot of people have been excited to watch him play. He's been showing up on the meta picks. He's been showing up on some of these niche picks that he has been bringing out. I am hopeful that he's going to continue to have success with the niche picks, just because selfishly, I want to see more of that in the league.
Oh, yeah.
And I do think when you have someone who can really be one of those players that is respected by other people in their role, that can showcase, hey, some of these solo queue picks actually work well in pro. You should be playing them too. That forces people to learn. That forces people to adapt. So that's my hope. of what we could get from some of these cool picks coming out.
Yeah, and it all depends on EG's playstyle and game plan going into this. If they focus more on the bot side of the map and leave Revenge up, you know, more by himself, that can expose the top lane to something where Rich can have a good counterpick matchup. Now, Dignitas is on the blue side, so the likelihood of that happening is probably not high, but one of the champions, we are on a new patch, 13-13. The Lounge was covering it a bit earlier on in the day. Tristana has risen up, is one of our top 5 champions in presence, just based off of kind of the game information we've gotten. We're the first major region on the patch, but the only other league in the world that has played on this patch is the ERLs, and they have been spamming the Tristana.
Yeah, there have been a lot of different changes on 13-13. There were mostly minor changes, but a lot of them were targeted specifically towards pro. If you look at the patch highlights, they always denote, you know, is this for low elo, elite, mid, whatever, or pro? And Annie got a pro nerf, Felios did, Nico did, Vi did, Wukong did. So a lot of these hits are really targeted specifically towards pro. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, how much is this actually going to shake up the meta? There were some small buffs as well for Lee Sin, for Nidalee, some of those kind of early game aggressive junglers. Not expecting to see a lot of them, honestly, though.
Yeah.
But Armao going to be bringing out the Ivern here. So Ivern Rell coming through early on. The Tristana obviously has been popular. I like it a lot as an early pick on blue side because I do think it's flexible. Yes, it has been played mostly mid, but I do think you can send it bot depending upon the matchup. We're going to get Poppy, which is rising in priority as well. Again, another flex pick, mostly jungle, but it has been seen top. Really strong against a lot of dash teams, can be great potentially against something like the Rell.
Yeah.
We have the Nautilus to answer. You know, yes, it is not the Alistar or some of those picks that people do talk about, but it's pretty easy when the Rell is going in with that W to actually just hook him out of the air and look for that as an answer.
Yeah, and then the nice thing going back to the Poppy point is that Rich has already shown that he's capable of being able to use the Poppy. Jayce lock-in for Jojopyun has been one of the stronger champions that he's used the split so far, and it's a great answer if it is into the Tristana, but as you already pointed out, since we don't know if this is going to be Tristana for Jensen or for Tomo in the bottom side of the map, it's a great blind pick to answer. Now, we're heading into the second round of pick and bans. This is where things get interesting for both teams because EG has already shown their jungle and support. I don't think we're going to be seeing an Ivern in any of the solo lanes. It should be pretty cut and dry, but whereas Dignitas, they still have a lot of flex potential, so EG has to pick and choose where they think Dignitas are actually going.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, EG do as well. You know, it only has been Jojo to play Jayce for them this split, but Jayce is the third most played for Revenge all time, so that could also be going top depending on matchups. Of course, we are kind of expecting it to go to Jojo, and I'm also expecting the Tristana to go mid lane as well, even though I wouldn't say that's a Jensen-style champion, right? Jensen is not known for these kind of picks. He's much more known for the mages. He often does kind of stay more in his lane. He doesn't really go out into the AD carries, unless you want to count Corki, but Corki is kind of more of a poke mage than really an AD carry in the way that it functions through mid. So, you know, I will be interested to see if he's going to branch out a little bit, show us something new, as we are getting some more bans coming through. The Gwen ban at least showcases that they really are thinking about sending the Poppy top or sending some sort of tank top, because that is really a matchup you want to avoid. If you're going to be playing a tank, Gwen is just a nightmare.
You do not want to be on the other end of those scissors come late game. You know, especially after the second item pickup, it feels like Gwen is just unbeatable in the solo lane, and you have so much split push pressure. But for Dignitas, if they want to still limit down other top lane champions, if you want to look at specific tank counter picks, there's plenty of champions that Revenge can look to, whereas Evil Geniuses, they already sniped out the Azir pickup from Jensen, where it's going to be the Varus. Now, Evil Geniuses, more than likely, they're going to be saving their top lane counter pick for Revenge, so it's going to be an Aphelios pickup more than likely from Unforgiven, unless he changes it up and goes more aggressive.
Yeah, they do end up banning out the Varus. We have seen Unforgiven go 2 out of the last 3 games he played the AP Varus. Yes, Shiv did get still nerfed, but Shiv is not destroyed. It's much more nerfed towards, you know, like the full AP mages and whatnot playing. It's still good on AD, so they took that away from Unforgiven. Xayah, which has really risen in priority quite a lot over these last couple of patches, is going to be coming in here. It's great against the dive. It's an easy answer to the Nautilus. The point and click ulti comes through. It's super easy to actually time that Featherstorm with it, be able to avoid that. And you are just expecting more dive champions to come through. If it is Tristana mid, you know, he can be jumping in on you. That can really dissuade it. This would be interesting. Oh, Ziggs.
Yeah!
So this is actually still flex, because this could be Ziggs bot or mid. Ziggs actually works really, really well in the bot lane. You can just have non-stop shove if you're comfortable playing it. Some of these passive trades, you know, with the auto passive is actually surprising amount of damage. You know, when this had been really meta before, there is such variance in how well players could pilot it. So if it is going to be Tomo playing it, I'm really going to be excited to see how good he is. This is a really interesting draft, though. Okay, no wonder you're banning Gwen.
Yeah.
Ain't no way you want to play against Gwen with Malphite.
Yep. And this is a good call out from Dignitas right now, because Evil Geniuses, their two main damage dealers in the mid lane and the bottom lane, are both physical damage. So Malphite, you're just stacking armor. This is going to force Revenge to say, hey, are you going to pick another tank for the goodness of, you know, having a solid team fighting composition, or do you want to have a little bit more lane priority? Do you want to have an answer? And you know what? Rumble is a great answer for both. You have team fighting power with that equalizer, and you are magic damage, so you get to pretty much get the shove in on Malphite every single time.
I mean, it is a horrible matchup for Malphite. Malphite in general really struggles into a lot of AB champions. Just the way that the kit works, you want to be stacking armor. That is really why you're picking this. And especially when you see it is Jayce and Xayah coming through, you're wanting to be stacking that armor for the team fights. But if you go pure armor, if you're just trying to ignore the Rumble can heavily punish you, has really good push. You know, it's resourceless champions, so you're not going to be taxed on mana the way that Malphite is. When Malphite is locked under tower, you really start to have to actually spend a lot of spells to lasso correctly, which makes you go It's super easy to time the scrap shield on any Q that's actually coming out from the Malphite to shrug off a lot of that damage. So it's a really good answer into this pick. I was for a second wondering if they were actually going to do the flex of Rell jungle and Ivern support, because both of those are actually pretty meta in solo queue right now. But it is not going to come through, so it is mostly the expected roles. Ziggs bot, very, very cool. And I think that the Rumble answer here from Revenge is a great pick for him. He has really been set up for success by EG in this draft. So now he's really got to showcase what he can get done with it, because this is, you know, his counter pick on 5 on red side. A great matchup. You want to see him really get ahead of the curve of the game and make the job of Tomo and Jensen very, very difficult, because Rumble from ahead is just dropping equalizer on your face in every single team fight. You're getting locked up by the Rell, and that can become a nightmare for a 2-carry comp when one of them is pretty much instantly out of the fight every single time from just equalizer and something like Shock Blast.
Yeah. And the other thing that Dignitas have to be conscious about is a lot of these champions only want to go in. I mean, Ziggs has the flexibility of being able to fire bombs from a long range away, but Nautilus, you go in and you don't get out. Poppy, you go in, you don't get out. Malphite, you go in and you don't get out. There's a pattern here. And if you're all locked in and you're committed, then the great punishment comes in from laying the equalizer right on top of you guys, and then no flash means you are just dead.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's powerful dive on the Dignitas side as well, which is going to be pretty interesting, because there's a lot of lockdown to guarantee skill shots from the Ziggs, right? We have Nautilus ult, we have Malphite ult, we have, you know, Poppy just popping someone up in the air, stunning them into the wall, and you can throw, you know, from long range that Ziggs ulti over the top to assist those frontliners who don't usually have enough damage to get that 100 to 0. To the point where all of a sudden the Ziggs on a couple items, you know, that's a Jayce potentially that gets, you know, stunned up by that Malphite. A Ziggs ult on top, you can just be dead. EG though, getting aggressive here, threatening that invade, gonna walk in, at least get the ward down, but we'll just retreat back towards their own side. I'm surprised. Did Diamond... I don't know if it's actually worth it. I mean, Diamond probably... he hasn't skilled the point. You can just level W there and kill the ward at level 1.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth it or not, because then you are W star, and I'm sure that he does really want to have the Q. But it would really depend on how they feel that this lane is going to play out. So, you know, probably something I would have done and felt smart about, and then walk to lane and be like, oh, I can't play.
Yeah. So I want to get your opinion on something. So for both of these compositions, we've talked a lot extensively about how we imagine teamfights are going to play out, but we're still about 10-15 minutes away from this point. We're in the early game. We're looking at the 2 jungle matches between Santorin and Armao on this Poppy and Ivern. How do you expect, you know, Santorin wants to play? We know that you have a little bit more aggressive agency, whereas Ivern more looking to just try and get as much camps as you can to start ramping up.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Poppy, you're not going to be able to pull off, you know, ganks that easily unless you can actually get behind people. You know, Poppy early on, you know, if people are really pushing into your laners, you can sometimes just walk in behind, get a tackle, push them into a bad spot, and look for a kill in that way. I think barring that, it is going to be relatively difficult for him to really find much. Ivern can really succeed in these kind of matchups because Ivern can struggle against early pressure, right? And Poppy's not someone to really be able to get in there and duel you and kind of really punish you on those early clears. So I do think it's going to require pushing lane for EG to punish, but the difficulty then becomes if EG are really on point, when they do have those pushing lanes, they should use that pressure to get wards on where the Poppy is. Then the Poppy really starts to lose options. And that's why in a matchup like this, I do favor Armao's side.
And it's also so difficult because once the Ivern starts leveling up and the passive timer on getting those camps up ready for him to take just become faster and faster, it just feels like you get choked out of the game as Poppy. So even though it's hard to get things done, I feel like Santorin still feels the pressure to get things done early.
Absolutely, and this is what I was talking about when you are playing in these kind of matchups. Look at his mana. He's already you know, we've laned for a minute and a half, right? The minions don't even spawn till 1:30.
Yeah.
So he's gonna have to go back to base here already. That is the struggle. You know, you do want to start D-Shield to be able to shrug off some of the poke, but then your mana is so bad. And it's a great invade here from Armao. Still has the smite charge, so he just walks in. He has full push in mid, full push in top, and Jojo could potentially even look for a kill there. Got Jensen incredibly low. Has been playing these trades out well.
Cascading effect. You have the pushing solo lanes, and that means the Ivern gets to do whatever the hell he wants against this Poppy jungle matchup. You have no solo lanes that can help collapse in with you in case you get invaded. And the fact that it's happening early on is already spelling very disastrous things for Dignitas.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great stuff from Armao, but it is going to be tough for Dig. Jojo, how he's been playing out these trades has actually been really nice, right? You know, because generally speaking, if Tristana is able to free fire during the explosive shot, as Santorin going to be spotted, Armao's down here. I think it will just dissipate, but we'll give it a moment and see. Is that, you know, if you're both just trading autos during the explosive shot, Tristana wins like every matchup.
Armao landed the root maker. Tomo is forced to flash, and they've already committed multiple members, but Eyla might just go down for the punish. This ignite and Santorin flashing in, but it's Unforgiven that gets one right on back. Armao now looking for one more root maker, connects it, and that is Unforgiven. Armao on the board for 2 kills in Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, Dignitas do get the first blood, but at the end of the day, it felt like a little bit of disrespect from Tomo. I mean, he saw the Ivern just kind of chilling there, did not fully back off, gets caught by that root, and is going to end up having to flash out. Yes, they do get that first kill, but it cost them a lot. Cost them the flash, cost them off of Tomo, off of Santorin, so they blew way more summoners. They do end up going 1 for 2. Bad kind of moving a little bit towards worse, especially when you consider the fact that Unforgiven picked up the kill. Poppy got one on the other side, so you know, you're not even getting your carries ahead with that first blood. Diamond and Santorin going to move towards mid, but Ayla's already here to cover. They're just kind of anticipating the moves. You know, Ivern, as long as he's here answering the plays, you know, Ivern doesn't even have to make the first move. If you're ever counter ganking Poppy, it's going to be really tough because Poppy is about that first burst of damage, and then you really taper off, right? You're not a high DPS champion, so all of a sudden, you know, you flash in, you tackle someone against the wall, and Ivern just steps out of a bush and shields him, and you're kind of like, oh.
Well, now I'm just kind of dead.
Well, now what?
Yeah, and the only saving grace for Santorin is just the phase rush keystone. You get the burst of movement speed, and as soon as you anticipate that something is wrong, you try to just get out. But so much CC available from Eyla and Armao in this situation probably means you're already dead, especially with no flash. So we're back again to square one with Dignitas, seeing if they can lane up against Unforgiven Eyla now that he has a little bit of extra damage. And I'm telling you, Azael, Unforgiven just says, hey, we won the first 3v3, and now we get to win all 2v2s.
Yeah, taking that 2v2. I do like how Tomo tried to play it out. You know, when Ayla's going forward, instead of using the satchel on Eyla, he's satcheling away Unforgiven to try to really split it up and to make it this kind of like brief 2v1 situation on the enemy support. But they are pretty far ahead. You know, his tier 2 boots were already completed for Unforgiven, so he closes the gap. They chase in. Diamond has no summoners. We talked about that earlier. They'd already blown all those, so can't get away. It's another easy kill going the way of EG. And their laning dominance has really been something to watch throughout this split. Tomo trying to move forward. They're trying to see if they can find a play. The Hex Flash is there.
Unforgiven's just going to preemptively flash before the heroic slam comes in from Santorin. That is a flash down for Unforgiven. Maybe Dignitas can look for a repeat gank and try to punish off of that, but if he hits level 6, then Unforgiven will probably be unkillable in that lane.
Exactly. It's a small window, and you can see Rich again just locked under his turret up on this top side. Armao has used this pressure multiple times, and when we were watching bot, he actually invaded top side again. You can see that there's also a pink ward, you know, over up on that top side, so he has really been trying to keep this Rumble safe on the push here. You know, has the scuttle down on top side, or had it, I guess it just did expire. So, you know, as long as you know where the enemy jungle is as Rumble in this matchup, it's pretty unlosable. Like, you are just going to be in this guy's face. The only thing you have to respect is a jungle gank, because if jungler shows up, Malphite's post 6, you can die. But barring that, there's not much happening. And now Revenge takes his prio, moves towards mid. Jensen is low. Will be spotted by Santorin, but Jensen could get dove here. If you get CC'd, Equalizer is going to get dropped on your head and you're dead.
Yeah, oh, it's so much damage. Jensen flashes away. The Comet, not enough to take him out, but that is so much pressure. A wave is lost from him. He already burned teleport prior, so that means he's going to at least lose one wave on this next crash.
And that's just a great move from Revenge. Take the prio you had on top side. If you can't dive, if you can't deny a lot of CS, you're going to get more out of even just threatening that roam, because it really limits what Jensen can get done. And we've talked about this so many times. I just think Tristana from behind is a garbage mid lane champion. Like, you have no utility, you have no real fallback plan. Like, you're just pure DPS, right? So it becomes very, very difficult if you fall behind. So Revenge, yeah, sure, he maybe can't deny a couple CS from Rich, but you're denying even more from Jensen. Jensen, as you said, no TP, now has no flash. Gonna be really hard to play in this lane because Jojo's already ahead. And with that early lethality, he has the flash advantage. He could find a window, potentially look for a kill.
Yeah, and because Evil Geniuses, the game is not necessarily about farming up, scaling up to team fights. You don't even want to get to that point. If you can break the foundation of Dignitas before you even get to that point, then every fight is winning no matter how poorly you're setting up.
Well, and so much of Dignitas' comp is around Siege, right? You're playing Ziggs, Trist, two of the best turret killers in the game, but if you're falling behind early, you're not going to really get access to that power. It will become difficult. They do have a good wave clear, to be fair, so there are going to be ways that they can potentially, slow down the pace, stall it out, make some things happen later on, but it does become really, really difficult. Your options are pretty limited when you are falling behind early in a comp like this. And I think the scaling is really good on the other side. Yes, it is Rumble and Jayce, but Ivern scales incredibly well. The Xayah, I think, is going to be so hard to deal with later on. I think, you're kind of just depending upon wave clear and potentially some Ziggs poke to make things happen, but Jojo is going to be really difficult to deal with that poke too.
And they get the Q flash into the crash down onto Tomo. He still has a flash to play with, already used the satchel charge, trying to wait it out until the bitter end, but he realizes it's too late. He's not getting out of that one, and it's another kill for Unforgiven.
Yeah, beautifully done by Eyla. Q flash, as you said, stuns him up. Then you can't dodge the crash down. That comes in. Didn't even have the Magnet Storm, didn't need it, wasn't 6 yet, but they get the easy kill here as Armao walks in. And I love how EG are always getting more than the initial play, right? They go for this gank on bot side, they know the dragon is up, so they can turn that into a dragon right after, just like how on top side, they look for these invades, they've turned that pressure into more damage up on top side. They're always trying to turn an advantage into even something more. Revenge shoves in top, gets an advantage there, brings it towards mid, right? This is really some of the hallmarks of a great team, of a team that knows how to push their advantage, and that's how you create these monstrous leads that can make it feel like it's hopeless so early on in the game.
Yeah, so far it's just under 3,000, but a commanding lead like this one, with how the compositions work out, you've already talked about it before. If Dignitas don't get online to lay siege, then what good is this composition? You have some team fighting power, and there's still ways for Dignitas to get back in this game, but the way that EG have just been slowly undermining how this composition works just makes it feel like there's no angles.
I mean, I think you can kill Jojo pretty easily, right? I think you can full send it on Jojo with Malphite ult, Nautilus ult, Ziggs ult, and do all these things, and you can probably kill him off most times. The problem is going to be, what are you going to have left to deal with Unforgiven? And if you full send it on one target, your team naturally stacks up, and all of a sudden, you're in an equalizer, the Magnet Storm's coming through, and Unforgiven's untouched, and that's where it really, really becomes difficult.
Maybe a move here in the mid lane. Ayla gets interrupted here. Magnet Storm keeps Diamond and Santorin in there. Tomo from downtown throws a Mega Inferno Bomb, and the fact that Ayla doesn't have flash maybe gets out alive, but the shield, it's still not enough. Santorin gets the last blow.
Yeah, Santorin has to flash in, though, so unfortunately Jensen doesn't even get it, and they get the flash with that Ivern shield. Santorin now on the run, and Diamond trying to get out as well.
He has a flash, and he's forced to use it right away so he does not fall victim to Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, so good job. They get a pick off on Eyla. He didn't have his flash. He used it down on bot side, so they commit to it. They do get a kill back. But at the end of the day, the extended trade is not that bad for EG because they force summoners off a couple members. They get the TP out here from Jensen. So it's a couple hundred gold going to Dig, but the lead remains the same. There's still that 2.5k gold lead, and summoners down.
And at this point, I have to hold that thought. Santorin's going to look for something. As soon as Rich goes in with the ultimate, Revenge has got to know that someone else is here for the play. Revenge still has a flash to play with, but Revenge is going to wait it out until the very end before flashing away, but Rich is just right on top of him, and he does not have enough damage to fight right on back. Jojopyun is teleported in. I don't know if he's going to be able to find a return kill here, but he punts him right back with the hammer blow. Shoulder and shock blast, and nice auto attack on the last bit of it. Jojo ensures that Revenge does not go down without at least a return kill.
Yeah, Jensen in trouble now, though.
And he's gone, and it's just not even a chance. Dignitas make one play, Evil Geniuses make two more advantageous plays on top of it.
Yeah, they're going to be able to get the kill on Revenge. Revenge had no ulti, so it was a good timing to look for that fight. He couldn't turn around without it, but as you said, Jojo TP's in top, gets a kill, and he's also farming plates top. They get a kill mid, and they're farming all these plates mid. So now 2.5k becomes 3.6. Bad goes to worse for Dignitas, and you can feel it. Their hopes in this game are already slipping away here 12, 13 minutes in, and that has been something that EG has been known for in their best games.
Yeah.
They can just run you over early.
And I just want to echo something that you already said at the top of the game. Evil Geniuses were on a tear this summer split until Cloud9 kind of bodied them. They had one really good dive, and it just seemed like unplayable for the rest of the Evil Geniuses. I think that is something that Evil Geniuses took to heart, and unfortunately, Dignitas are now just receiving the blunt end of it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we saw C9 looked a little bit angry in that game against EG after they had gotten slapped down by TL. So it's just like one after the other,
The
you know?
vicious cycle
passing
continues.
it on, yeah. So Dignitas now, we'll see if they can slap someone down tomorrow.
Who are they playing tomorrow?
I don't remember.
Well, sucks for
Don't
them.
ask questions if you don't know the answers.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I'm blaming you on this one.
You know what? Yeah, that's fair. It's like solo queue all over again. 1 minute and 20 before the next dragon. It is only the second dragon of the game, so it hasn't been necessarily an accelerated dragon-paced game for Evil Geniuses, but it's just because their game plan has just been dismantling the structures of Dignitas and wearing them down before all the neutral objectives are up to grab.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when you look across the board, you don't need to really be super concerned about the neutral objectives when your carries are so far ahead, right? Bot, Unforgiven, has nearly a 2,000 gold lead. Mid, Jojo's a good 1,000 gold ahead. Top lane is a couple hundred gold ahead, right? All your carries are really far ahead. The Ziggs ult will come through and dissuade them. Maybe you can be able to farm a little bit of Daisy gold, so Jensen gets 50. Not too shabby, but EG will just continue this momentum and can look towards this next dragon, you know, utilize that as a tool to make sure that Dignitas can't just sit back forever, because a team that has really strong wave clear like a Ziggs, you don't want to allow them to stall the game forever and have a lot of opportunities. So EG are really focused on knocking down these turrets. They already crashed one mid with that first Herald. I think you get the second Herald, you just drop it mid. You just make sure that the Ziggs doesn't have a safe place to farm.
Yeah.
Because without the mid tier 1, it's so hard for them to even think about challenging something like a dragon, because they're not going to have this point of safety. If Ziggs walks up to contest that mid wave, you're going to get wrapped on and you're going to get killed.
Yeah, because then, actually, can I ask you to do the drawing thing?
Do the drawing thing.
Yeah,
so make the mini-map big, perhaps?
So here's the plan. They drop Rift Herald mid, like you said. This turret goes down, and then point out this quadrant and this quadrant. Those zones become no-go zones for Dignitas, because anytime you try to push up, they can just wrap around and flank you. Equalizer, Magna Storm from across the wall. It's just so spooky for Dignitas at that point in the game.
Yeah, it's really, really tough. And that's why, you know, in a lot of cases, I think they would be happy to just use the Herald somewhere elsewhere, eventually take down this turret mid because it was already low. But since it's Ziggs, when it's Anivia, when it's these types of champions that really stall out games, you don't want to give them the opportunity. So Eyla now waiting on the side here. If Dignitas do commit, there is a really good angle for a turn. Revenge has ulti, so does Eyla. Here they go!
And he's already in there. Magna Storm on the 2. Jensen is stunned up, and they've got another one. CC lockdown. Eyla's taking a lot of damage. Rich answers back with the unstoppable force onto Armao, but he's got the shield, and the Equalizer's going to split up the fight. It doesn't really do a lot of damage to Dignitas, but it just forces him out. The Shock Blast is what's really going to be kicking Dignitas back, but Jensen still has the teleport, so he can recall, he can come back, and it looks like Dignitas might be able to actually fight for this dragon.
Yeah, Santorin was an absolute hero in that fight. He actually ejected Revenge, so he couldn't get the Equalizer down when Eyla went for the engage, and that was really the big game changer there, as it's a trade of flashes.
Yeah, Jojo without a flash means he cannot step up as safely anymore, and this dragon just belongs to Dignitas now.
Yeah, it's looking that way. As Jojo's going to go back to base. He does have TP, so maybe, yeah, they are going to cancel some recalls. So Unforgiven is staying around. They want to see if they can threaten, but Jensen is back. Jojo's TPing to the pit, so they're going to send it.
That is bold, Jojo. I don't know, but it's enough that Dignitas, they believe him. They're like, hey, we don't want to deal with this guy, and that dragon just goes right on back to Evil Geniuses.
Yeah, it is tough because I do think that Dignitas' composition is so ulti-based. And with Jojo TPing back, he's full health. Ayla's around. Unforgiven's still healthy. He still has ult and flash. There's a lot of tools, and they start to realize, I don't think we have enough to deal with it. Again, they probably could have killed Jojo for sure and made him look a little bit silly. But if they all commit to the pit and kill Jojo without flashes and without ways to necessarily get out, you're probably going to all die for it. So at the end of the day, Dignitas does have to retreat. EG take the extended fight, take another objective here, and it is going to be Hextech Soul. And that is going to be a really good one for them to grab.
The other thing I love about having Hextech Soul on the map is you get portals, and so that just means Evil Geniuses and Dignitas can experiment with how fast they can get back on the map. And that is always something that teams have to kind of take account for. If they look for a fight, they don't get anyone down off of it, and they can still reset in time. Just because you knocked them off the map, it doesn't mean that they can just come right on back, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ziggs ulti's going to land.
Oh, good God. Jojo's gone! That's a huge shutdown for Santorin. And the Mega Inferno Bomb on top of it ensures that he's got nowhere else to run. But what can Dignitas do with this?
Probably not a lot if the Equalizer comes down mid. I mean, they could just tank the tower and probably kill this with Satchel. Yeah, so just going to walk up. They do get that. But that's what I'm talking about, those combos where if you have one of your frontliners who is going to be able to get back onto the Jayce and you have the Ziggs ulti to assist, it's enough damage to 100-0 the guy. So, it is a good combo. I think Jojo is going to die at least a few times in this game because he is kind of really the only good target, right? Like, you don't want to go on to Rumble who has stopwatch. You don't want to go on to Xayah who's going to be able to react with the ulti.
Yeah.
So he's kind of one of those only targets that you can really look for. And Santorin walks up, finds the stun. There's the Ziggs ulti. He was just CC'd 100-0. It's wall slam into the knockup. Just really well played there. A nice pick from Santorin and Tomo showcasing some of the power of this composition. But again, the 5v5 is where I'm really worried for them. They're going to have to find, kind of some big X-Factor type plays where you knock someone out of it with the Poppy ult, or you really, find an ult flash where Unforgiven can't react or something like that. Because I do think with 3 threats on this EG team, when you spend everything to kill a Jojo or whatever at the start of the fight, I don't know that they're going to have enough to win after.
And while Evil Geniuses are preparing for the top side absolute control right before Baron spawns in 45 seconds, gonna go for the turret first, pushing Jensen and the rest of Dignitas off the turret. But no further engage will be had. A little bit of shock blast damage, already showing that Jojo has scaled well into the game on cue and on time. And does Revenge want to look for an equalizer here?
Yeah, I mean, if you try to walk through this corridor, it can get a little bit dicey. Jensen has been poked down very heavily, and he's not going BT second. A lot of people we've been seeing on these Trist mids against poke teams, sometimes just grab a Vamp Scepter and then go to something else and go BT third still.
Yeah.
But he does have a Call Fluid, so he's going to be going Navori very likely, as Rich going to get caught out. No real damage there, but will force the ulti in defense.
That's huge.
Now you just walk back to Baron, right? Like, you just start to threaten this. It's going to be on spawn. With no Malphite ulti, you could potentially start it up, or at the very least, try to make them think you're going to start it up.
It looks like he was recalling out of vision, so they don't know for sure how many members are on this. They've already watered it up with the brush, and the equalizer goes right on down on Diamond, and Santorin is looking for the Keeper's Verdict. He's going to find Eyla, so it prevents one flank of the side, and they turn right onto Revenge. They blow him up. No chance to use the stopwatch, no chance to use any stasis. Jojo trades one back onto Diamond. Rich flashing in for the Q slow to see if he can land one down for Evil Geniuses to get wrapped up on. But Dignitas just cannot find any more members.
Yeah, again, it's a great ulti there from Santorin. He marked the flank, he knocks Eyla out of it, and that allows them to actually pile in for a kill. At the end of the day, Diamond goes down on the other side. But you're going to need these types of plays from Dig. They have to reject someone out of the fight. They have to get multi-man ultis, things to really kind of turn this game on its head. Jensen moving down towards bot wave. It is pushing away from him, but he wants to at least collect this wave and try to feel safe doing it. If he can get some alone time, potentially could knock down that turret. The gold has seemed to have stabilized a little bit. It was like 3.5k, I don't know, a couple minutes ago. I'm guesstimating 4 or 5 minutes ago. So at the very least, Dig are holding them somewhat steady.
Yeah. And one of the crazy things is just a contrast of how Dignitas have been playing overall the Summer Split and the Spring Split. Even though they're down gold, they are taking fights much more proactively and not letting teams just walk all over them. It was something that Jensen was talking about with Travis in an interview. He's saying, yeah, Spring, we just kind of sat around and didn't do much, and we just let enemy opponents disrespect us, but now we're trying a lot more in Summer.
And I think Santorin has had some really good games over this last week or two, right? Even when Dig was getting some wins, I didn't think he was looking his best, but his last Poppy game was massive. This Poppy game is looking really good again so far. Dignitas trying to move in and contest this dragon, but they are getting poked down a little bit, and Unforgiven has access to that mid wave. If they give this up, it can get weird because Tier 2 is getting pretty low already. Again, Jensen has no lifesteal, so he's going to be popping his refillable pots, trying to heal back up. But the longer this goes, it's been mostly poke landed by EG. Oh, they're going to try to threaten a Baron trade.
And it's something that Dignitas are now going to have to answer. Do they want to commit anyone? No, they're just going to send the full 5 to answer EG right on back. Revenge and Eyla are on the right side of this Baron pit, looking again once for the flank. It's 6,000 HP. Santorin, can he get in range? And they're starting to peel off of it now. And Eyla looks for the Magnet Storm, but no one gets hit by it quite yet. Tomo's able to get out of the way with that flash. Jojopyun is now looking back onto the fight. The front line of Dignitas trying to get closer and closer to Unforgiven, but they can walk right bound past him. They're trying to take out Armao. Jojopyun absolutely just destroys Tomo and shoves a giant dookie on his face. And the Evil Geniuses now have to look for Jensen on the back turnaround. And Dignitas, it might have looked good at the beginning of the fight, but they completely get eviscerated. Whoa, Jensen turns one right back on Jensen.
Got to dodge the shock blast. We'll see if he can do it.
Revenge is gone now. Jojo, he can't keep up unless he... Oh, but he ends the shock blast of doom. And Jensen goes down.
Yeah, Jensen does go down in the end. And that is the problem with these two-threat teams, is that they put the pressure on one of the carries, they push them out of the fight, they make their jobs difficult, and there's so much time that is being bought for the EG three-man carry squad here to really run over the fight. But Santorin in the area, Diamond's here, they're TPing in on Tomo.
I don't think they can do it. Armao is forced to flash. He knows that it's doomed.
Okay, never mind. I was wondering if Dignitas could actually get on it and keep it leashed, but weren't able to do so.
You know, Azael, I didn't expect this one to be such a banger back and forth. You know, I thought after the way that Evil Geniuses just undermined Dignitas in the early game that it was just kind of over.
Yeah.
But they're back in it.
They're back in it. You know what I didn't expect? You just say that someone just got a dookie dropped on their
You know
face.
what? It was the first thing that came to my mind.
I didn't expect that.
I might get a talking to after that one. Let's not harp about it. Look at the
right,
fight.
so we can watch the fight one more time. And this is what I'm talking about, right? They go on Tomo. Tomo flashes out to safety, but like, what is his contribution to the fight after that, right? Not a lot. As soon as he tries to enter, Jojo flashes in on him. Revenge on the other side is actually zoning out Jensen, and as soon as Jensen gets his E back up, he has the explosive shot, he starts stacking it up. Revenge just goes into stasis, buys even more time, right? So it is that chase down. We're back to live. EG onto the Baron here. Dig trying to force their way in.
Equalizer is going to separate the pack. Once again, Rich finds an ensemble force on the Jojopyun, but he goes golden for the stasis, and Eyla answers back on the back of the storm. He gets blown up, but they trade one back on the diamond. Jensen's off again! This could be a huge moment, but he only gets one kill. Jojopyun, is he going to die? No, he has the shield from Armao, keeping him alive! Tomo is gone! Unforgiven goes into the air! The slam from Santorin! Santorin trades it back! This was a banger, all right! Evil Geniuses and Dignitas fighting until the bitter end!
Yeah, at the end of the day, EG gonna be able to grab the Baron here. That one was really close. And they're trying to pick on Jojo. They know that he is the easiest target for them, but this time he has the stopwatch available. And he's done a good job surviving in a lot of these fights. You know, they look for Jojo. He's stepping forward for the shock blast. He goes into melee, and Rich just says, yep, we're gonna send it. There's no flash on him. Into they go. The hook connects, but the ulti comes out from Ziggs as he goes into stasis, so that does not connect. And then again, this is my concern. How do you deal with Unforgiven? They try to go in onto Revenge. They're gonna be able to force him down. Jensen finds his window, flashes on in, you know, rather jumps on in, has the explosive shot up onto Jojo. The shield is just enough to keep him alive in the back for Armao. I thought that he was gonna get the kill with the explosive charge because the shield from Armao expired, but the cooldown is so low, he got a second shield on the same explosive charge, so he's able to get that back up, keeps him alive. And we have two incredibly fed carries here for EG. Look at the damage from Unforgiven. It is so difficult to really push the Xayah out of this fight. You have to fully dive onto someone on the EG side. It can't be Unforgiven because of the Xayah ulti, so.
Oh, Roommaker finds one. Rich finds another answer onto Jojopyun. The Mega Inferno Bomb lands a lot of damage, but he gets shielded up, so Jojopyun can still stay in this fight. Jensen has already traded back onto Eyla. Teleport comes in. Revenge has now entered the fray. The Dignitas have already gotten what they wanted, and they push Evil Geniuses off of the tower.
Yep, it's a good pick there. They are going to be able to kill Eyla. Again, just trying to go for Jojo. He may have to build a little bit defensively. He does have Armao trying to keep him safe, and this time he does survive again. You know, constantly just sending it with the Malphite ult, with that Ziggs ult. They're going to look for this 1-2 punch, try to knock down Jojo. It's the only one they really can go for. So I feel like if I'm Jojo, I probably just build a Hex Drinker at this point of the game, and I feel like you really deny one of the only good ways they have to start a fight. EG, though, definitely in their comfort zone. You can see it's 3 items completed already here for Unforgiven. Jojo's working to 3 very quickly as well. Revenge, you know, had an incredible laning phase. Hasn't been picking up as much gold throughout the later stages of it, but he's still a big threat here too if he can find a good equalizer.
Yeah, the fact that Dignitas are still taking these fights, even when they're down so much gold relative to Evil Geniuses, it just makes them scarier to fight as. And Evil Geniuses have to think twice about how they're taking some of these angles and making sure that Rich doesn't get his combo into Ziggs ulti, that Santorin doesn't find a heroic slam, and Ziggs ulti is right on top of it.
Yeah, and Jensen is doing a pretty good job. You know, he's closing in on that BT. When he completes it, it is going to be a really big spike for him, but he still needs, you know, 1,000-ish gold to be able to actually get that done. You can see the equalizer is just going to be there to try to push them off. Tomo takes 1 shock blast, 1 tick of the equalizer, and he is basically out of the fight. So got to be careful now because Jojo's going to have that accelerated shock blast up here pretty soon.
And he's fishing for it too.
Yeah.
He is in darkness with that control ward. Dignitas are trying to see if they can snipe him out, but now all the wards are completely gone. Tomo has already forced a recall and reset. This next wave should be Evil Geniuses to take the tower.
Yeah, and I think Dig knows it. That's why Jensen is even moving over. He's just going to commit to going bot, going to push out that wave, maybe try to threaten the tier 1 or some sort of a trade. Tomo heals back up, is going to come back out, so they won't lose more than the tier 2 there, but they're trying desperately to get Jensen to his 3rd item and hope that, they can get these carries so strong that they can really make something happen in the fight. They do force the TP out from Jojo as well, but experience is becoming a bit of an issue also. You can see it's a 2-level lead in top lane because Rich is just constantly getting drawn to his squad.
Yeah.
They want to group up, they want to function as this 5-man team, which does mean he's not in the side lanes, he's not catching CS, he's not getting XP. So, it does create more than just that gold lead in advantages.
Now, here's my question. If Dignitas can actually get through the next 5 minutes where Evil Geniuses just have this level lead, and then it just gets to super late game where everyone's level 18, that should favor Dignitas in the end, no?
I don't know. It's hard to say. I just think that they're really going to struggle to deal with Unforgiven. Like, again, I just am trying to problem solve how you play out these fights. I think there are windows of opportunity. I think that there are ways, if you can really, kill off Unforgiven early on, but I just don't think they have a viable target besides Jojo. And if you're going to send it on him every time, that's setting you up to get roasted by the Equalizer and to get shredded by Unforgiven. So, compositionally, I think it's just going to be really difficult for them. You can try to play side lanes with Jensen. Maybe if Jensen gets to a certain point where he can deal with the Jayce and is getting so strong that no one can really answer him, then you can make things happen. But, I just don't know if they're going to be able to get that time because 3rd Dragon's going to be grabbed here by EG.
I mean, at least for Dignitas, they are trading a tower on the top side of the map. The Equalizer doesn't take out Jensen. He's able to live with just a little bit of HP left. But once again, Evil Geniuses are still trading on the up with the 3rd Dragon take.
Yep, and you can see Unforgiven does pick up the Hex Shrinker. I was expecting Jojo to grab one, but Unforgiven is even getting one. So just on the off chance he can't react with the ulti in time and he gets caught by something, a lot of the burst damage is just going to be magic, right? Because Jensen cannot realistically rocket jump into the back line without just getting absolutely clobbered, with a counter engage. So most of that in damage is going to be from Malphite, from Poppy, and from Ziggs, right? And that is going to be vast majority magic damage. So I do think it'd be great if Jojo grabbed it as well. We're going to see Azonia's 3rd, likely from Revenge. So there's going to be a lot of tools here. And with the Null Magic Mantle picked up by Jojo, I think for sure he's going Hex Shrinker. They're just shutting down what are their opponent's win conditions. And I think EG are itemizing intelligently to do that. We'll see, if Dig can get to ultra late game, if Ziggs gets 6 items, whatever, maybe you can just land a bunch of poke. There's always opportunities, but well-executed fights, I just feel like should always go EG's way.
And now Evil Geniuses are setting up for the Baron play. They don't have vision control of this blue buff quadrant jungle, but they're just going to start it up right away. They're confident that they can make the turn happen. Ayla is setting himself up for a flank position, and there's nothing that Dignitas know about Ayla coming in from the back line. Ayla's finally shown, and he's going to look for Tomo, but Armao and the rest of Evil Geniuses are going to turn right onto the back line. Jensen is stunned up. Huge buster shot puts them all away, and Jensen gets out alive. Tomo can run away from this fight, but Jensen might not make it out alive. The redemption clips him. Does he have one more jump? Yes, he does. Oh my gosh, he's going to actually get out alive, but Unforgiven is looking for Tomo, but he gets the flash out. Evil Geniuses are able to get the berry, but Jensen tried to survive, but Evil Geniuses always get their man.
Yeah, Jensen was on the run, but that engage was so good from EG. Ayla gets onto both the carries. The Equalizer lands on them both, and it doesn't even matter what else is happening after that point. If Jensen and Tomo are not free firing, you are not winning a 5v5. It's just not going to happen. EG have everything they need to close this one out here. We'll see. They're marching forward. They have the man advantage. If they can get another kill, it could just be over.
Rich doesn't have unstoppable force. He can't get out of that one. Unforgiven roots him up with the blade collar. The inhibitor will fall. They have 2 Baron cannons that they can empower, but it looks like they're not confident to end this game quite yet. But Jojopyun has the teleport. I could be wrong. They're going to look to destroy as much of the base as possible if it's not the game end altogether.
Yeah, at the very least, they're going to get double inhib. They do TP Jojo in. And now they are, moving forward. They have double waves here. You want to Baron them both up, so someone's got to move up towards that mid wave and really start to keep that pressure piled on. Rich is not up for 20, so I think EG could stay around.
They find a hook on Unforgiven. He has the Featherstorm. Can he get out of this one? He doesn't even need to use it. He just kites it right on back. Santorin is destroyed by Unforgiven. Jensen falls as well, and that should be enough for Evil Geniuses to walk this one in. The Equalizer blows Tomo off, and he's forced to run, and there's nothing they can do to save this base. Rich is back up. He has unstoppable force. Does he have enough damage to pack it in with Tomo? But no Mega Inferno Bomb, and Unforgiven is just going to flash forward, tries to push push him off. They look for the tower. Rich, one last attempt to delay this game, to stall this one out for Dignitas, but Evil Geniuses completely eviscerate Dignitas in the end and will take the win.
EG get another win here. Gonna move to 8-2 now. A great start to the second round robin here for them. Love the composition that they went with here today. I think it was really intelligent, got a lot of pushing lanes. The Ivern pick into the Poppy was great. They're able to utilize those pushing lanes, get invades, create advantages around them. And really, it was just so difficult for Dignitas to problem solve the comp that EG had drafted. There just weren't really good targets for them besides Jojo. But killing Jojo, threatening Jojo is not going to be enough to win the fight. And at the end of the day, they only got him twice. Unforgiven, 14-1-4 on the Xayah. They could never deal with him. They didn't really have the tools to do it.
Yeah.
And EG played a smart, clinical game where they just limited their opponent's options.
And credit to Dignitas where it was due. We thought that how the first 15 minutes played out, that Evil Geniuses were just going to close it out in the next 10 minutes. It took them a while to get there. Dignitas were actually throwing blows and finding decent picks. But the problem of a composition that they ran is when you run into multi-threats that Evil Geniuses has. Okay, you blew up one guy. What are you going to do about these other two guys that are just completely destroying your backline?
Yeah, and I think, you know, if this was like an Aphelios instead of a Xayah or something,
yeah,
I think you have so many more options to try to make things happen. But the problem is just Unforgiven is not going to reliably get caught by Malphite ults and whatnot, right? Like, he's going to be able to react to them. So that is really the difficulty, is that you can't dive on Rumble, you can't really dive on Xayah, so you can only go for Jayce, but there's such good counter engage that how do your carries even follow up?
Yeah.
You can throw the Ziggs ult into the back line, but if you have Jensen trying to run through and get in there, all of a sudden Rell's in your face, you're getting hit by the equalizer, you're just getting pushed out, right? And I think EG really understood how they wanted to play this out. They did it incredibly well, so congratulations to them, another win on the board.
Yeah, well, for us, it's official. Drops are back. Log into lolesports.com to watch this week's games for a chance to earn esports capsules, masterwork chests, and more. With that out of the way, we're going to be joining Jatt and Revenge on stage for a Verizon post-game interview.
Thank you very much, Raafaa. I am here with Revenge, and we were just talking about the start to your split so far. 8-2. That's the best start you've had in your career. How does it feel?
Honestly, it's great. I feel like I've been working really hard this split, and honestly, our team just is really clicking. I feel like when we go on stage, we just play really, really well together, and like it's just, yeah, everything just feels like it's coming together from practice, so it's really nice.
Yeah, there's been a lot of conversation actually about the top laner you just played against, Rich. He's played, you know, with the Lowy, the Quinn, he was Hots Faker, but you've been quietly having probably your best split ever. How are you staying focused and continuing to improve?
You know, I've been hearing a lot of conversations about top laners, and I don't feel like people are mentioning me enough. So I think that this second half of the split, I'm going to really come in and show why I'm like up there. And there's a reason that we're a top team. You know, Jojo is 1v9ing, but you know, it is also the rest of us too. And I'm going to show that I am also a top laner in the league right now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Revenge. Congratulations again on the hot start.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Awesome.
Nice. Fast.
Cloud9 is, I think, the strongest team in the LCS, so I think it will be harder. C9 play well against our team, Golden Guns always. First week was so bad, I think.
Now he's got to be careful because Fudge has found the flank and River's about to die. They gun him down and M&S goes golden to prevent the same. Licorice tries to flash away. Fudge is in the middle of everybody. Licorice, Hoohie, they're all dead. Golden Guardians are gone. Cloud9 just won it.
I think we're improving all the time, and I think that we're trying to become the best team in the region. And I think that we have a solid chance at being able to do that, and we have a really good chance when we play C9.
Forcing the flash out of M&S, but River flashes over the wall to keep him chased down. Licorice ready to fire the Ord Horn! Shut down over to Tactical. He's got to do a lot more work. Licorice pops the Dominus, continues running forward. Now they're going to turn their focus over onto Balulu as Tactical falls back towards the fountain. He'll be the last man standing. A quadra kill over to Gory. Tactical gets out. A pentakill for Gory of the Golden Guardians.
They're like the best team in the league, I think, so I always want to win, and they're a tough team, so hopefully I can play well and show up on the day.
Red Bull gives you wings. Red Bull gives you wings.
With Verizon's new My Plan, I get exactly what I want and only pay for what I need.
Now I'm in charge of my plan.
Introducing My Plan from Verizon. You get exactly what you want and only pay for what you need. And it all starts at just $30. It's your Verizon.